The Curse of Madame Elise. In the heart of a forgotten town stood a decaying mansion, covered in creeping vines and shadows that seemed to breathe. Madame Elise, the psychic who lived there, was a legend. Some said she was over 100 years old, though she never aged. Others whispered she wasn't human, but something cursed. People traveled from miles away to seek her counsel, desperate for answers. Elise would close her dark, haunting eyes and channel voices from beyond. Dead, future, unknown. But her readings came at a price. One far greater than money. Those who left often felt drained, haunted by strange dreams and visions, as though Elise had taken something from them. Despite the fear, people couldn't stay away. Julia Turner, a skeptical journalist, had heard the stories and decided to investigate. She arrived at Elise's mansion on a foggy evening, determined to expose the psychic for what she believed to be a fraud. But the closer she got to the house, the more a heavy unease settled in her chest. The air felt thick. The house itself seemed to watch her as she knocked on the door. Elise answered almost instantly, smaller and frailer than Julia had imagined. Her eyes were darker than anything Julia had ever seen. They seemed to pull in all the light, leaving only shadows behind. "You're not here for answers," Elise said before Julia could speak. Her voice was low with a strange ancient quality. "No," Julia replied, startled. "I'm a journalist. I'm writing about you." Elise's lips curved into a slight knowing smile. "Everyone comes to me eventually." Julia followed her into a cold room lined with worn tapestries. A single candle flickered weakly, casting long, distorted shadows. Elise motioned for her to sit at a small wooden table. There were no tarot cards, no crystal ball, just those endless black eyes. "You want to know my story?" Elise said, her voice soft and unnerving. "Yes. People say strange things about you," Julia began, pulling out her notebook. "They don't understand," Elise interrupted. "They think I see the future, but I don't. I channel something darker." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "I see what's beneath." "Beneath?" Julia's curiosity was piqued. "What do you mean?" "The world you know is only the surface," Elise replied. "Beneath it lies something ancient, waiting. I don't speak to the dead. I speak to what lives under them." A cold shiver crawled up Julia's spine, but she pressed on. "Like spirits? Demons?" "No," Elise said, shaking her head slowly. "Not demons, not spirits. They don't have names. They live in the cracks of the world, in places where light never touches. They feed on those who seek too much." Julia forced a nervous laugh. "You don't expect me to believe that, do you?" Elise's smile faded. The air in the room seemed to grow heavier, suffocating. "You've already met them," Elise said softly. "They've been watching you since you arrived." Julia's heart raced. The shadows around her seemed to shift, growing darker, more solid. Out of the corner of her eye, she thought she saw something move. "That's impossible," Julia whispered. "There's no one else here." "You can't see them," Elise said calmly, "until they want you to." Suddenly, the candle flickered out. The room was plunged into darkness. Julia fumbled for her phone, hands shaking, and turned on the weak glow of its flashlight. Elise was gone. Julia's breath came in shallow, panicked gasps. "Madame Elise?" she called out. No response. The shadows pressed in closer. Julia's skin prickled as she felt it, a cold breath on the back of her neck. She spun around, but there was nothing. Only the darkness. Only silence. A voice whispered from the depths of the black. "You came looking for the truth. Now it sees you." Terrified, Julia ran. She stumbled through the house, the darkness chasing her, consuming everything. By the time she burst out into the foggy night, she was trembling, her skin cold as ice. She never wrote the article. She never spoke of what happened in that house. But every night after, as she lay in bed, she could feel it. Something in the dark, watching her, waiting. Because once you look too deeply into the unknown, it looks back, and it never lets you go.